Hi, my name is Brett Hoffman, and today I'm going to go ahead and go through my Celeste level titled City Limits, as well as provide a little bit of director commentary on some of the thought processes and developmental cycles that went into making this level. One of the first things I want to talk about is the overarching structure of the level, as well as some of the stuff that's inspired on, as well as some of the mechanics that are shown. From the start, this level is planned to have three major areas. There's this first area that the player works their way through, which is supposed to be a sort of backroom way to reach the second chapter of Celeste, meant to mimic both in mechanics as well as in aesthetics the first chapter of Celeste, known as the Forsaken City. There are a lot of moving blocks, a lot of dash refill crystals, as well as a lot of girders, snow, and cement, meant to sort of make the player feel familiar with where they are. As they move down to the second area, though, they should begin to feel like they're on a separate path than what the first chapter may have seen. The second area is meant to look like an abandoned sewer source, with blue crystals both being a standard obstacle of the way, but also aesthetically supposed to represent frozen over water as a result of the effects of the mountain. For the actual story of the level, the way that the player moves through the level is supposed to mimic how Madeline would go about solving the problem of the original way to the top of the mountain being potentially blocked off on her second visit. So, at the start of the level, there is a large cave-in with a key right in front of it that signifies to the player that the normal way up the mountain is locked off, and that they need to find another way to get up to the top of the mountain. In doing so, the player ends up finding this sewer of sorts that allows them to make their way through and over to a large chasm on the opposite side of it, which they can use to climb up to the area that they were planning to go in the first place, which is a calm, serene area supposed to signify the entrance to the second chapter of Celeste. Granted, none of these locations are exactly how they are on the base game of Celeste, but they are meant to mimic it, both in mechanics and in set design, to make the player feel like they could be in a similar area of the mountain at all times. As we approach the third area of the level, I want to talk a little bit about difficulty as well as side challenges. The difficulty of this level is not meant to be on the same level as any of the A-side levels of Celeste. I wanted to try and put it a little bit closer to some of the earlier to mid B-side levels, so there is a little bit of a challenge in both endurance as well as reflexes, though still providing some options that the player should they choose to play things a little bit safer or slower. For example, the screen that I'm working my way through now has these two dash points. Choose not to submit to the sort of chaos of that traffic block there. Excuse me. This third section of the level, aesthetically, is also supposed to mimic sort of the interior sections of the area. It is possible to get this key without actually having to die into this room. It is not supposed to follow you back to the entrance, but that is one of the few hiccups that I've run into in trying to create this level. I'm going into a few more of those. Testing seems to be a bit of a problem with Celeste. It is not the easiest to actually find and get feedback on an incomplete level without actually bringing people into the same room in order to playtest it. For otherwise, an incomplete level would have to be uploaded and put up to the whims of people online. And doing that every week in a row can be a bit of a taxing process when it comes to trying to develop things expediently. Some of the other things that I found trouble with when it comes to this project include some of the set design being a little tough to actually go through. For example, this chasm is supposed to feel as though there's a lot of junk being thrown into it all the time, and so it has a lot of set design pieces that are supposed to mimic that sort of feeling of there being trash everywhere. But in trying to keep with the first level's aesthetic, I limited myself to the foreground and background decals of that particular tile set, which in the understanding of creating that sort of feeling, a lot of stuff was reused multiple times throughout the course of a level, but overall I think the level came out very nicely. The estimated playtime for a given player would be about 15 to 20 minutes, and in lieu of a proper finale to the level, because I was not able to implement one in time, the level finishes as the player is able to collect this crystal heart up on top of this small snow pile at the very top of the chasm. And that's my entire Celeste level. Thank you for watching.